Dear students, welcome to the next session of managerial effectiveness and leadership. And in today's session, we are going to discuss on spiritual perspectives on personal leadership. Let me give you a glimpse of what is that I'm going to speak in today's session. This is something to do with the basic fundamental concepts of leadership, where if I am a leader tomorrow, or if I'm supposed to be a good leader, what is that I have to inherit in my abilities? And these six or seven things which we are going to speak in today's session are going to be very, very important, because based on this, you will be gauged not once but several times, and your leadership will be based on these fundamentals. But before that, let me ask you few questions with respect to leadership. The first question: how do you deal with change? Dear students, change is inevitable. Change is something which keeps on changing every now and then. Think about the mobiles, which started, say, about early 2000. And since early 2000, in the last 20 years, a lot of technological changes have been brought in. And these changes, every now and then, how do I cope up? This is with respect to the technology which we are using. But with this advance in the technology, as an organization, am I getting impacted? And if yes, how do I deal with the change as a leader? Let us take the best example. The educational institutions over a period of time had the chalk and talk method. What do I mean by chalk and talk method? Is where we had the lecturer speaking the concept, he used to use the board, and he used to explain the concept to the students. And this is what used to happen in your school days, college days. But slowly the change in technology has brought in, and people who were into this field, be it leader, be it the subordinate, be it the peers, if they have not adopted to the change, they have been eliminated. What's important as a leader, I have to make sure that me and my team are upgraded to the next level, be it technologically or be it culturally. How comfortable are you with what is on your plate? Now, this is something which you have to think about. Now, what is this question trying and talking about is, if whatever is been given to you at this point of time, are you happy with it? And if you're happy with it, how comfortable are you at this point of time? And supposedly something moves out, or something inevitable happens, like the times which we are facing today, what is that you as a leader want to do? So, are you comfortable with what is there onto your plate or no? Are you creating or are you resisting? Next important question which a leader has to answer is, are you creating? Are you creating enough jobs? Be it, are you creating enough technology? Are you creating enough ideas? Are you creating a lot of concepts which will help your own team members to move ahead to the next level? Or are you resisting? Now, this word is a very difficult word to put it across, because if I start resisting the change, the things which are happening, which you see a lot of companies have moved out of the setup just because they have not upgraded themselves. The best example is Nokia. They resisted the change. They did not think of how do I create something similar which is happening. And once upon a time, a leader in the mobile phones, today they are finding themselves difficult to sustain. So the leadership is about, are you resisting or are you creating? With these basic questions, let's move ahead to the next slide. So what is spiritual perspective of leadership? The spiritual perspective of leadership is something to do with which increases your personal mastery and leadership effectiveness, drawing from ancient spiritual wisdom from around the world. Now, it has nothing to do with spirituality in the word spiritual, but what it says is across the globe there is a lot of spiritual aspects. If you dedicate yourself, if you are realistic to yourself, if you are truthful to yourself, these are the basic spirituality concepts which we are going to speak about. And it has nothing to do with what spirituality or religion will try to bring in here. So if you have spiritual wisdom, obviously what is going to effective it is going to affect you as an individual, where you're going to have your effectiveness as a leader is something which definitely is going to increase, and you're going to be a master in whatever you're trying to do. So with this background, let us look into the seven things which, with respect to spiritual perspective, personal leadership, is what we are going to speak. The first one, integrity. Now, if you ask me what is integrity, integrity is honesty. How many of the leaders across the globe, how many of your managers, how many of your the people whom you follow are in having this honesty? And if they are not, what has happened to them? So if you as a leader, if you're not following integrity, a lot of things can worsen. So let's look into what is this spiritual perspective looks from integrity. Integrity at its best is alignment between thought, word, and deed. Now, what do you think and what do you say and what do you do? These are three different things. Trust me, a lot of times conflict arises because of this. Conflict arises because what you say, what you think, and what you do is three different things. At your personal level, also, if you can probably have this flow, that is what you think and what you say and what you do, is if it's the same thing, then you're going to have a lot of success in your life. But any two things which is not going in your way, supposedly you think and you say something different, in that case there is a problem for you. So dear students, let me tell you that your thought, that is your thinking process, your words, what you want to say when you're thinking about it in your mind, and what you want to do has to be the same. And the best leaders which I've seen have had this wonderful ability of integrity, and it reflected in their leadership. Let us move on to the next point. When we have integrity, the fragrance we enjoy is the state of no inner conflict. Now, as I was telling you sometime back, that the conflicts begin in your mind, and when we are committing something to some of our friends, supposedly, I'm just telling at the organization to organization, if you are giving some deadline to your client, or maybe you are committing something on behalf of your organization, what is that you want to do is think whether you can probably do that in whatever time you're saying. And if you're not, don't commit. So the first thing is think, and then when if you say, now that you've thought of and you have set some date as a deadline, then you have to make sure that you have to get committed to it and you have to finish that particular. And if this happens, you would have no problems in your mind, and the conflicts would not arise at all inside you. We say that we mean and we mean what we say. So, as a quote goes, whatever is there in your mind, you have to mean it. And whatever you mean it, we have to say it. That is what the first three words speak of, is thought, word, and deed. Next, our actions are not at variance with our words. So whatever I am trying to do, it should be something which I have committed. Supposedly, I say that I'm going to come tomorrow for a particular XYZ to my client. If I am a person with integrity, I have to make sure that I am there. That is where your actions will come into picture. So your words, whatever you have said, your trust towards what you have said would increase. The loyalty towards your organization would increase if you, whatever you say, you commit to it. Next point. When there are gaps between our words, thoughts, deeds, and our state of being, those gaps impact our credibility, commitment, and courage. As I said sometime back, if all the three things, that is your thinking process, what you say, and what you do, is all the three the same, in that case, your credibility, commitment, and courage would increase. And if all three are having some differences in them, that is the thought, word, and deed is something, there is a difference, then obviously your credibility is going to take a toll on you. The next point, when we walk the talk, demonstrate our commitment to what we have taken on through our actions, and have courage to listen to our inner voice, we demonstrate integrity, and that builds our character and confidence. Integrity is something which is to do with we have to demonstrate our commitment. Now, if I'm committed, trust me, a lot of people would come back to me because they know that, hey, look, whatever happens, this guy is going to come and finish. The clients, the people who trust you will definitely come back to you for a work which they would want you only to do it. The next thing is confidence. Obviously, most of the leaders which are there who do have a lot of self-confidence. Now, this confidence, to some extent, from the perspective from spirituality, which I'm trying to speak of, is when we feel good about our own capacity, the position we have taken in particular situation, we display a great sense of well-being. The vibration that come from us makes others feel our positive state of mind. Dear students, what does this mean is it has something to do with your confidence. And we've seen that many a times that somebody else's confidence is something which probably might help us to do a particular thing. We look at possibly somebody else is not feeling confident. We also start feeling not so very confident about that particular task. But somebody from our team says that, hey, let's do it, sir. Let's look into it. We can probably achieve it over a period of time. Don't worry, we are there and we can do it. Then that confidence builds among the individual. He reflects it. He probably his vibrations are then probably reflected in other people's vibration also, and all of them start working towards it. There are a lot of movies. There are a lot of leaders who have shown this ability, saying that, hey, look, probably I dedicate myself, and if I dedicate myself, that vibration is seen in the team. Uh, for example, I would want to quote here the the Infosys team in the 80s when they were starting their organization. They had confidence in each of them, and that vibration of positivity which was there among all the people, that made this organization grow from nowhere to what it is today. They then are more likely to extend their cooperation and play their roles in complementary ways. Obviously, as I said sometime back, if you are confident about a particular thing as a leader, you obviously reflect that in your walk and talk, and you reflect that in your body language, and that body language probably would play a role, and others, that is your subordinate, your team members, also would start feeling confident about it. This is also related to our faith in what our company stands for. Obviously, it has something to do with what I believe as an organization. And at the topmost, even when the companies are not doing that great, and they're financially they're not doing good in terms of the financials. At that point of a time, that crunching time also, if the leader says that, hey, look, probably we can do it and we can succeed in our lives as an organization, definitely that confidence moves on to the various hierarchies of the organization, and each and every person starts dedicating himself or herself towards the organization. And that is what the faith which you, as I said, the culture which you build in as a leader can probably move across to the last person in the organization who is started with you. The feeling then is my organization is doing something great, and I'm indeed in a position to contribute significantly towards the fulfillment of the organization's goals. Obviously, the confidence which the leader shows in his team members, the team members also starts reflecting the same way, and they start proving themselves that the organization is doing something for me, and I would want to do, and I would want to give something to the organization, and I would want to fulfill the organization goals. So that is how mutual it is. When we have self-confidence, our ability to resist temptations goes up, and our self-resistance leads to further increase in our self-confidence. Now, what is this line talks about? If we are confident of our own organizations, we would start resisting to going above what we have done. Supposedly, the benchmark last time was performance A. This time, we would probably want to perform better than what it was last time. So our resistance towards doing good, doing bad is going down, and doing good is moving up. That leads to self confidence. Yeah. The next thing is restraint, and this speaks from a few things. Let us look into it. What is restraint? Our life would be happier if we handle difficult situations with thoughtful reflection and identify noble responses whenever possible. Now, what this sentence is trying to talk about is there have been situations where have been difficult situations where be it the leader would have faced, and if his thoughts have come to a state where he feels that it's a win-win situation, and people can probably take something out of it. So what we are trying to look at this is the conflicts which arises, if any. Pretty sure as a leader you will have to go through a lot of constraints, a lot of restraints, a lot of conflicts, a lot of problems which you are going to face as a leader, be it internally within the organization, be it externally from the organization. How do you win this is you make sure that you compromise to some extent and try to bring a formula which is a win-win situation. When we cannot, at least we should keep under check negative emotions. Expressing displeasure is one thing, but giving vent to our anger is destructive is quite another. So what this sentence is trying to say is, a lot of times, probably when our expressions, our body language, where we are stressed up because of some restraint which is happening across our mind, or maybe the work pressure, sometimes makes us get into a negative emotions. But make sure that as an individual, you have to cope up with this, and as a leader, you are not supposed to show all this to your subordinate or to your team members, but try to find out a solution, and uh, if possible, try to keep the negative emotions out of your job. And that is where this video, which this session of life skills handling would help you about how to cope up with the negative emotions. And obviously emotional intelligence plays quite an important role there too. The next is it is important to become conscious and to hold back inappropriate thoughts and words in public and in private. What happens is you should be aware of what is happening around you, and your mind should be conscious. A lot of times we tend to use the inappropriate words, which probably during the conversation we probably convey to the other person, which which might not be a good way of building up relationship. So be it in public or in private, just make sure that your inappropriate thoughts and words are under control as a leader. They harm us even if we indulge in them in secrecy, because our attitude gets picked up by others no matter what we do and don't do. So what it says is, once the negative thoughts and negative words keep on coming back in again, so what happens is, somewhere it starts reflecting onto our attitude, and it is not good for us to get into the wrong thoughts and inappropriate thoughts and words anywhere as such. The next point is, it is important to restrain our tongue as much as our actions, if not more, because in the name of telling the truth, in the name of advice, we lose our self restraint. That results in loss of energy and enthusiasm in both parties. So what is this trying to say is, just because I want to tell you the truth, it doesn't mean that I have to tell you the truth the way it is. But I can probably use this telling the truth in a way which can be constructively used by you as an individual, and make sure. So as a leader, what is to be given is the feedback which has been to be given to the, be it your client or be it your own people who are working in the organization, be it your own team members. What is that you are supposed to do is, you have to give a constructive feedback which helps others, and not that you just by slip of tongue and you give away something which is not worth it. The next aspect is obviously energy, and more the energy, more the enthusiasm in you has a reflection on your body language, and that moves on, that vibration keeps on moving on to the others who are there in the organization. So it is important to find ways to keep our energy, and physical and emotional both should be on a higher end to on important occasions. Of what does this author try to say here is, the energy which you are having should be positive energy, and you should have both the physical and the emotional energy. Physical, obviously, to take the things along with you, because a lot of physical abilities would be needed when you are working in the organization. But what it says is, the emotional state of mind also should be positive enough, and it should be on a higher end. And when you have a higher emotional intelligence, as we have seen in the previous video, it does reflect onto your leadership qualities as an individual. What it further says is, 200 to 300 minutes of physical exercise in a week is needed, and that is what the experts are also advised, to make sure that you are physically fit and energetic across the week. In addition to the physical and emotional, intellectual and spiritual energy would also needed. So what is this? Intellectual is your information, your source of finding out various information from your own organization, be it internal source or be it from external sources. You need to find out information of what is happening, and you need to have vision of a very good a very good leader is someone who envisions a lot of things, what is going to happen in the, say, about next 3 years, next 5 years. He should be in a position to see, and this is all based on the information which keeps on coming. See, there might be some information which might not be useful for your organization, but that information probably can help you for the industry. So there is bits and pieces of information which keeps on going, which is helpful, and this should be translated into an opportunity which you can grab over a period of time, and you can start up something new. Now the best example is, today companies are using the technology which is available widely, and they are making sure that they are using it with their brand name. Now, if I have to take two examples here, I would want to quote, one being obviously Maggie. Now, what did Maggie do is, they had one of the toughest phase of their, especially when this MSG happened. Now, they had a very strong brand awareness among the people, and they came back very in a big way. in such a way that their brand was well recognized and people started trusting them, and they just wanted one or two advertisements, one or two informations, which probably now this was taken as an opportunity, though they had been washed away completely of all these shells, and they were back with the bang, and they are doing exceptionally good in today's world. The second example which I would like to quote here is with respect to Nokia. Now, Nokia again is a company which had moved out of the market, and slowly and steadily they are trying to make their inroads into the market of mobile phones, and they would want to use that. Now, simultaneously, because Nokia is a well-known brand, what is that they are doing is they are trying to utilize it for manufacturing TVs also. The platforms which are available, I know they are trying to just give that brand name. The third example, which probably can relate in terms of what is to be done as the changes are happening across the industry. You should have heard of one brand by name Prestige. Prestige is well known when it comes to the cooking, and especially the ladies of the house are well aware of this brand called as Prestige because they trust it more importantly, because most of your pressure cookers at your home are of Prestige. So what they did is very simple technique which they used is they used their brand name which was well versed, and when the induction tops started, they just gave they got the units from someone else and they gave the brand name as Prestige. And then there was a huge demand for induction cooktops with because they had the name of Prestige there imbibed. Now, what is this trying to say here is there is an opportunity. Now, this opportunity has to be brought in by you because you have seeked some information. Now, this can happen because of your intellectual ability, and this ability can help you to grow in the industry. The next is, in these days of complexity and uncertainty, managing energy is as important as managing time. Now, what it tries to say here is your energy is very, very important, and you can, some point of a time, the energy can drastically go down, and you might lose out that energy to work and be focused. So, how do I get focused? Is obviously use meditation as one of the techniques which most of the spirituality speaks of, and a lot of leaders who are at the CEO level or above, what I've seen them doing is, to keep out the stress and make sure that the energy is retained. What they tend to do is they tend to practice a lot of pranayama and a lot of meditations, which help them to keep their energy intact. The next thing is when we are aware and alert about opportunities to contribute our energy and time to what is important, we become effectively less. Now, as I said sometime back, the three examples which I gave, obviously, you need to have a lot of information, and those information can be used for creating opportunities for your organization. So that makes you a very good leader, and you exhibit a lot of good energy within the organization. We move on to the next. It is alertness. As a leader, as I said sometime back, you need to be aware of what is happening around you, and you need to bring in a lot of information, and your set of information, which can be internal, which can be external. It possibly can be someone from the external. The what is your competitor doing? You need to keep an eye on your competitors also. What is that they are trying to do? How are they trying to survive? What is that they are trying to do? So this way, you can definitely seek a lot of information about what is happening, and you can be alert. So this is again a state of mind where we rise above our mechanical ways and conditioning. When we shake off old conclusions, look at things with a fresh, open mind, we ignite new ideas and see new patterns and learn something fresh. What is this trying to say is, so sometimes as a leader also, we get confused, we get stuck. this is the best time where you probably think about it and just leave the things as it is and leave it on the desk where you're working, and go ahead and probably take a break about for some time where you do something else other than the work which is needed. And when you come back, you possibly might have a fresh and new idea which might just get ignited, and you might start working on to a new project. So sometimes it is always good to take a break on a regular basis, especially when you are getting stuck with your work, and that probably can alert you, that probably can bring you a new idea in your mind. We need to take a note that every day new opportunities emerge, and if we have our eyes open, we could seize those opportunities. The example of Prestige or Maggie or Nokia, which I gave in the previous slide, is obviously with respect to creating new opportunities, and they tend to emerge every now and then. The opportunities are definitely there. Only thing is that we should be alert enough, and we should be aware of what is happening across the industry. People change their mindsets and behaviors, and when those change are noticed and appreciated, they will continue to move in the same direction, and they requires alertness on your part as a leader. As a leader, what is that you're supposed to do is set a mindset to for the people. You as an individual, as a leader, you are supposed to change the behaviors of others by continuously working on to their mindsets. And if you work onto the individual mindsets, definitely there the behavior is going to change. In in a similar vein, yesterday's enemy could extend a hand of help to us today, and the friend of yesterday could betray us today. So, what is this trying to say is, in the organization, there is this fight which might creep up, and sometimes what the author is trying to say is possibly your enemy. Yesterday's enemy possibly might be a friend today, and somebody who is a friend today possibly can be enemy tomorrow because of your alertness, and you can probably create opportunities from the competitors advantage also. Last one is alertness and trust in right information and right experts in addition to your own intuition would help us to become better leaders in the long run. Obviously, the last point what it tries to talk about is you need to have your intentions right. And when you are not having your intuitions, or when your sixth sense is not working and you are not getting lot of information which was needed, possibly at that point of time you can go to the next level where you as an individual take advice from the experts, and you look at their opinions also to look into what best can be done. The next one is trust in self and in right experts. And so what this is trying to talk about is obviously you have to help yourself. That is the first thing, and you have to trust your own ideas. But simultaneously, you as an individual also have to look into what is the experts trying to talk about. So as a leader, we have to know when to trust our intuition and when to trust external data and information. As a leader, you should be aware of that. In doing so, we have to consult right experts. We cannot go to Google and seek information, because whatever is there onto the internet is not right. Possibly there are a lot of chances that whatever is being shown could be probably mocked or edited, and just to reflect to a particular society. But that could not be the right thing. So I have to generally not trust everything what I see. I have to probably go back and look into whether the video or the file or the information which I got is right, or whether it has been fake information. We need to validate the source of advice and information, whether it is coming from the experts or from other sources. So we have to trust only the experts. That is what the author is trying to say. And whenever the experts are telling you something, you need to probably and think or work on that particular way of experts. Okay. The next thing is we need to actively seek out experts whom we trust and people who can give timely and valuable advice. Obviously, a lot of companies these days do have the advisors who are part of the industry, are part from the government, and they tend to give you a lot of information which probably can be used for your organization. Be it small or big, this information is available, and to across all the leaders can access and can probably work onto that particular idea which has been suggested by the expert. We have to learn over a period of time to balance advice received externally and intuition developed internally. So what the author is trying to conclude here is, obviously there is the experts would give their opinion, but is it feasible with me as an organization? Is it feasible with whatever work or whatever project we are trying to do? I'll have to cross check, and that is only possible when you think, when your intuition starts working on it. So you need to make sure that you balance between both those things. That is the external advice, as well as you need to balance on intuition, which is coming from intuition. And the second part of the trust is about timing. Obviously, it is absolutely important to consult experts at the right time, well in time. One right input coming to us at the right time can help us execute our projects effectively and successfully. So what it says is, the experts might give you a lot of solutions, but if comes at a later stage when the things have moved out, it would not be useful. So take the opinion of the experts when it is needed the most. The last one in this spiritual perspective of personal leadership, execution effectiveness is something. Now, what does this mean is, how do I make sure that the execution of the work is been done, and how effectively it can be done. So every time we do something that we had promised to somebody, our credibility and reputation and trust grows. So what is this sentence trying to talk about? The author here is saying that we do tend to promise a lot of times, and as a leader, when we promise something somebody, just make sure that it is not it has something to do with your credibility, your reputation, and the trust. Now, if that has to grow, in that case, what is that you are supposed to do is whatever is being promised has to be delivered. Now, for most of the big companies, especially if I have to quote here the example of Flipkart and Amazon, the e-commerce companies which are existing in India at this point of time, how are they successful? Is they are successful because of the very simple policy is, they say that we promise you and we deliver you. If what is that they do is, they say that we are going to deliver you product by next Wednesday, and they make sure that by Monday or maybe by Sunday the product is available at your place. What is that they are trying to do is, they are trying to say we under promise and over deliver. Now, this is something very difficult for you to get this right, because your trust has to grow. And if supposedly the same product which was supposed to be delivered on Wednesday, and even after Wednesday till Thursday, it is not delivered to the customer, then in that case, the frustration leads to the customer leaving the e-commerce site, or possibly canceling, which again has a lot of cost. So what is that you have to do as a leader? You just make sure that whatever is been promised, you have to deliver that on time or before time. When we delay, our image in others' eyes suffers, and even if we give the best explanation or justification, it will not work. So the best thing is, obviously make sure that you are not going to delay. Whatever has been promised, you are supposed to deliver that well before the time. As a leader, you are not going to delay any orders which you are taken. Effective execution means we have to pay attention to the four things: completion time, resources, quality, and satisfaction. Now, this is where the author is trying to talk about is the aspects of how effectively I can execute. And if as a leader I have to be successful, he says the completion on time is very important. Second is, when it comes to resources, be it people, be it human resources or finances, etc., should be in place. And the third thing is obviously quality, which has to be excellent. You cannot compromise on the quality. And the last thing which moves is your customers and yourself will be happy. The last thing which talks about is efficiency allows us to complete the project on time, but effectiveness means working with our team with emotional intelligence, and that increases quality of work that will bring the project, resulting in higher customer satisfaction. As I said sometime back, efficiency is obviously something which you have to do, but with efficiency, effectiveness is also something which you have to concentrate on as a leader. And to be successful leader, your spirituality perspective on these 7 points becomes very, very important. Now, it has nothing to do with religion, as I said at the before of this slide opening, and even at the close of the slides, I'm telling you the same thing. It has nothing to do with the spirituality. It is something which about these 7 points, which is there scripted across all the aspects of all the leadership aspects. And if you are being successful, you will be successful because of these 6 7 points which we have discussed as a leader. And every walk of the life, you should be able to do well in these 6 7 points. And with this, we come to an end with onto the today's session of managerial effectiveness and leadership. And if you have any questions or if you have any queries, please do call me or WhatsApp. Thank you.